The emergency broadcast crackled through the Galactic Council's defense network at 0300 hours. A distress signal from Sector 7, deep within Vrexian territory, a place where even the bravest species feared to tread. The Vrexians were apex predators, standing nearly 9 feet tall with obsidian scales and fangs that could crush durasteel. They had evolved on a death world where everything hunted everything else, and they sat at the top of that terrible pyramid. Their society was built on strength, honor, and the protection of their young above all else. Captain Talia Chen received the transmission aboard the human vessel Defiant. Most species would have marked the sector as a loss and moved on. The Vrexians didn't ask for help, ever. They didn't need it. But Talia had learned something during her 15 years in deep space. The ones who never asked were often the ones who needed it most. "Reed," she called to her second officer. "Plot a course. Maximum speed." Reed Martinez looked up from his console, his weathered face skeptical. "Captain, that's Vrexian space. They've made it clear." "I know what they've made it clear about," Talia interrupted. "But someone's dying out there. Set the course." The Defiant cut through the void like a knife through water. Within hours, they arrived at the coordinates. A Vrexian patrol vessel, listing badly, its hull breached in 3 places. Scorch marks indicated a skirmish with the Krath Raiders' slavers who preyed on the vulnerable regardless of species. "Life signs?" Talia asked. Reed's fingers danced across his screen. 2 adult Vrexians, badly wounded. And, "Captain, there's a juvenile. Life signs critical." Talia's jaw tightened. "Get us docked. Medical team to stand by." The docking procedure was rough. The Vrexian ship's systems were failing. As the airlock hissed open, the stench of blood and ozone hit them like a physical wall. 2 massive Vrexians lay in the corridor, their breathing shallow. Their eyes golden and fierce, even in pain, tracked Talia and her team with the wariness of wounded apex predators. But it was the sound from the interior chamber that froze everyone in place. A scream. High-pitched, terrified, agonized. A child's scream. The adult Vrexians tried to rise, tried to move toward that sound, but their bodies failed them. One of them, a female with a scar across her snout, locked eyes with Talia. In that gaze was something Talia understood in every fiber of her being. "Please, save my child." "Reed, take care of them," Talia ordered, already moving toward the chamber. Inside, the scene was chaos. A Vrexian cub, no more than 3 years old in human terms, lay pinned beneath a collapsed support beam. Its small chest heaved with panicked breaths, and every movement brought fresh cries of pain. The cub's eyes, not yet hardened by age, were wide with terror. Talia assessed the situation in seconds. The beam was too heavy for her to lift alone, but the ship's structural integrity was failing. They had minutes. Maybe less. "I need a cutting torch and hydraulic jacks," she barked into her comm. "Captain, the adults are trying to get up." Reed's voice came back. "They're going to hurt themselves." Another scream from the cub cut through the channel. Something primal awakened in Talia's chest. She had no children of her own. But in that moment, she understood the fierce protectiveness that transcended species. This wasn't a Vrexian cub. This was a child in pain. The ship lurched. No time for equipment. Talia positioned herself at the beam, wedging her hands beneath it. Human muscles, weaker than Vrexian, weaker than most species in the galaxy. Humans weren't built for strength. They were built for endurance, for stubbornness, for refusing to accept the impossible. She pulled. Nothing. The cub whimpered, its cries weakening. Talia thought of every human who had ever lifted a car off a loved one. Every mother who had found impossible strength in impossible moments. She thought of the human spirit, that insane, beautiful thing that made her species punch above their weight class every single time. She roared. Not a tactical command. Not a controlled response. A raw, primal sound that came from the depths of humanity's evolutionary past. From the days when humans were prey, who refused to die. Who looked at larger predators and said, "Not today." The sound echoed through the dying ship. In the corridor, the adult Vrexians stopped struggling. Through the entire vessel, everything went silent. Talia's muscles screamed, her vision tunneled, but inch by inch, the beam moved. Reed appeared beside her, adding his strength. Together, they lifted enough for the cub to scramble free, whimpering but mobile. The moment the small Vrexian was clear, Talia and Reed released the beam and collapsed. The cub limped to Talia, its golden eyes meeting hers. It made a small, chittering sound, the Vrexian equivalent of a kitten's mew. Then, it pressed its scaled head against her chest. Talia wrapped her arms around the trembling child as her medical team rushed in. Later, on the Defiant, with all 3 Vrexians stabilized, the mother approached Talia in the medical bay. The massive predator lowered herself to one knee, bringing her fearsome head level with Talia's. "You roared for my daughter," she said in accented standard. "I have seen many species. The strong conquer. The fast survive. But humans." Her golden eyes gleamed with something like wonder. "Humans roar for children that are not their own." Talia met that ancient gaze steadily. "Where I come from, all children are our own." The Vrexian placed one massive clawed hand over her heart in salute, a gesture reserved for the highest warriors. "The Vrex Pack will remember. When humans call, we will answer." As the Vrexian mother returned to her daughter's side, Reed approached Talia. "Captain, you know what you just did, right? Vrexians don't forget debts." Talia watched the mother curl protectively around her cub, the child finally sleeping peacefully. "Good," she said quietly, "because we don't forget our friends either." In the cold mathematics of the galaxy, humans were weak. But they had learned something that most predator species never could. True strength wasn't measured in claws or fangs. It was measured in the roar you gave for someone else's child. And that roar could silence even the fiercest pack.